So we all know Spider-Man saves dozens of lives every single day, and for the most part, people are pretty grateful for it. But after being saved by Spider-Man 3 different times, instead of thanking him, this woman, Vanna Smith, decides to get a restraining order on Spider-Man. So let's talk about it. Now, obviously, that story comes out of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, issue number 5, and in the beginning of that issue, we see Vanna Smith, a 16-year-old girl, writing in her blog while her parents are fighting outside her room. Vanna writes that on July 4, 1776, legend has it that King George III wrote down in his journal, "Nothing important happened today." But this was a really dumb thing to say because every day, something, somewhere is always happening. Vanna says, take today for example. I ran into that creepy new costume guy, Spider-Man, that the Daily Bugle is always writing about. What a weirdo. The issue then cuts to a couple hours earlier at Vanna's school, and she's just going to be hanging out talking to some of her cheerleader friends. While Vanna's talking to her friends, she says that the Vulture, who just finished robbing an armored truck, is going to come flying towards the school. Vanna's going to write down in her blog, the others ran like sheep, but me, I stood my ground. Nobody tells me what to do. But the issue actually shows us that because of the Vulture's presence, Vanna has been paralyzed by fear and she can't run away. But just then, a voice is going to come out from under the bleachers telling Vanna to move, and as she ducks out of the way, 2 webs are going to hit the Vulture's feet. Vanna's going to write down in her blog, what a sicko, hiding underneath the bleachers, probably looking up our skirts the whole time. What else can you expect from someone running around in a costume all day? Peter's then going to come flying out from underneath the bleachers, going after the Vulture, and he's going to barely miss hitting Vanna. Flash Thompson is going to help Vanna up, and she's going to say, I'm fine. And Flash says, of course you are. Spider-Man just saved you. Angrily, Vanna's going to say, he did no such thing. He put me in danger to begin with, and he's a peeping Tom to boot. The issue then cuts to a few years later, and we see Vanna, now in college, writing in her blog. Vanna says that she knew it was just a matter of time before Spider-Man came to see her again. She knows that he must have liked whatever he saw underneath the bleachers that day. Vanna continues by saying that today, while she was doing a project for school, she went to the New York Science Museum, and when she was there, she had to go to the bathroom. As Vanna's washing her hands, Spider-Man is going to come flying through the bathroom door, and right as he's trying to apologize, Vanna's going to start beating on him with her purse. Whenever Spider-Man asks her what's wrong with her, Vanna's going to say, you're asking me? You think I've forgotten that time back in high school when the Vulture attacked? You almost got me killed. Peter has no idea what she's talking about, and Vanna's going to say, oh, so you're just going to pretend like you don't remember me? Peter's going to run away to go fight the villain that he was just battling, and Vanna's going to call after him, saying, you can't just invade people's privacy like that. But almost immediately, Spider-Man's going to get hit back into the bathroom, and he's going to barely miss Vanna. We then see Vanna write in her blog, so I'm thinking to myself, this is impossible, right? How can it be that Spider-Man, again, just so happens to fight some random whack job when I'm around? This is when Vanna says that she started to put 2 and 2 together, that maybe the Daily Bugle was right, and Spider-Man was staging all of these fights as a way to try to impress Vanna. Now, Vanna knows this all sounds really unbelievable, but she says if you can accept the idea of a man crawling on walls and shooting webs, anything is possible. We then cut to a few years later, and while Vanna's just relaxing on the beach, Sandman is going to attack, and Spider-Man's going to show up to stop him. Vanna's going to write down in her blog that when Spider-Man showed up, he didn't say anything to her. He pretended like she didn't even exist. But Vanna says that she knew Spider-Man was glancing her way, and that just proves that she wasn't imagining this, that Spider-Man really does have a crush on her. Vanna says that it's a sickness that Spider-Man has, and she's tried to tell her therapist about this, but her therapist just seemed really skeptical about the whole thing. A few years later, while Vanna's sitting in a cafe, Spider-Man and the Rhino are going to come crashing through the wall. Vanna, once again, is going to write in her blog, it's getting worse, each incident closer and closer together. It's clearly some form of sickness. Spider-Man just can't seem to keep away from Vanna, and all of his supervillain pals are wrecking the city just so Spider-Man can impress her. Vanna tried going to the police, but the police told her without any real evidence of stalking, there was nothing they could do. So Vanna decided on something a little bit more drastic. And she took the entire case to court, filing a restraining order against Spider-Man. Now, this judge doesn't actually believe that Spider-Man is stalking Vanna, but to give her a little bit of peace of mind, he's gonna give her a 50-foot restraining order against Spider-Man. And as Vanna's leaving the courthouse, the judge is gonna call after her saying, "Ma'am, please get yourself some help." And Vanna's gonna turn to him and just say, "With respect, Your Honor, I just did." Vanna's then gonna get a call from Jonah Jameson, who heard all about the court case, and he's gonna congratulate her, saying that it's a major victory against Spider-Man. And Jonah is gonna ask Peter to take Vanna's picture for the front page of the paper, and whenever Vanna sees Peter, she's gonna say, "Have we met before?" And Peter, a little angry, is gonna say, "Nope, you don't know me at all." The issue then cuts to years later, and we see Vanna, now an old woman, sitting alone on a park bench feeding the birds. As Vanna is just sitting there, another woman is going to come up and say, "It's been 40 years. 40 years since you've been on the front page of the Bugle." She tells Vanna that she knows all about her. She has no husband, no children, no friends, nothing really. All Vanna really had was her front page on the Daily Bugle. And the woman's gonna tell her, "The first thing you should know is your restraining order was totally meaningless." Vanna's gonna try to argue, saying, "No, it wasn't. He never came near me again. It actually worked." And the woman's gonna tell her, "There's 10 million people in New York City. It's actually miraculous that you ran into him as many times as you did." But if Vanna's life was in danger and Spider-Man was in the area, then no piece of paper was gonna stop him from saving her life. Vanna's gonna angrily say, "I don't know who you think you are." And that's when it's revealed that this woman is MJ, Peter's widow. MJ is gonna throw Peter's mask on Vanna's lap as proof that she really was married to Spider-Man. MJ tells Vanna that Spider-Man is really dead, and this should come as some kind of relief to her because now the restraining order doesn't mean anything. MJ is gonna tell Vanna, "This may sound harsh, which would bother me if I really cared, but as far as I can tell, you've accomplished nothing of significance. You've formed no lasting relationships, loved no one, contributed nothing to society." Vanna's gonna try to defend herself, but MJ's gonna cut her off, saying, "Let me guess, your parents screwed you up something awful." And I'm not gonna diminish that, but there are some people who blame all of their misfortunes on those who failed them, use their youthful traumas as excuses for being less than they ever really could. And then there are others, people who use their traumas to propel themselves to greatness. My husband was one of the second type. As for you, for all that you've accomplished, good or bad, right or wrong, you might as well not have lived at all. Vanna's gonna tell MJ, "You're wrong about me," and MJ's gonna say, "How so?" This is when it's revealed that Vanna misses Peter. She misses thinking that he was interested in her, that she was somehow special. Vanna's then gonna say, "I miss him, okay?" And MJ's just gonna leave her alone in the park. That night, as Vanna is sitting at home alone, she's gonna turn on her computer and open her blog, and she's just gonna write, "Nothing important happened today." And that's the story of Vanna Smith, the woman who filed a restraining order on Spider-Man. A really awesome issue. I always really love the Spider-Man comics that deal with like how normal New Yorkers feel about Spider-Man, because the issues always feel a lot more grounded. But let me know in the comments, what did y'all think about the story of Vanna Smith? And if you like this video, follow if you want to see more.